Hello, everybody, and welcome back to DM Writer's Room. After I'll say short sabbatical, we're back at it. Maybe a long sabbatical, depending on
I
how
think
you
a
look at it.
medium. I don't know. When I think
Medium.
long sabbatical, I think those channels that shut down for like 3 months for the holidays
Yeah.
or because of a scandal. I don't really think of like like a tight post-holiday slump. I think it's pretty normal.
Yeah. Just a vacay.
So with that, welcome back to my co-hosts, myself, and all of our loyal viewers. Thank you for tuning in yet again.
Millions of you. Thank you.
Hundreds of millions. We're gonna break 1 billion soon. So we have just recently completed almost all of our work on our Morkborg homebrew, Morkborough, a monster-infested, semi-real America setting where you are attempting to prevent the apocalypse, but it is all for naught because the apocalypse is coming whether you want it to or not. With that being said, we are working on getting formatting and all that stuff done. That'll be done probably several months from now. You'll be able to find it on Kickstarter several months from now when we finished almost all of the work. So that was our last mission. Today's mission, we all came with a pitch, and we're all pitching a one-page RPG that we have to choose between and then design. We've given ourselves 3 episodes of this to get that done. We're probably going to get the nuts and bolts done today, skis.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Ethan, if you want to take it away with what you're cooking up.
So normally we one page one shot is a sort of version of our show that we've done before. We just got done with sort of a longer format, so we're cutting back to the shorter stuff. We each have an idea. We're going to pitch them, and then we're going to decide which one we want to work on. One-page RPGs, if you aren't familiar with them, are exactly what they sound like. They are brief RPGs where the entire concept for the game can fit on a single page. They are rules light and a little bit of a challenge to design sometimes, mainly because something that you will notice the more that you get into TTRPGs is a lot of them are not games. They're just sort of a list of things to talk about with your friends. So trying to sort of ground it in being a game can often be like a little bit of an additional challenge. We have used playing card decks and Monopoly dice. We've used flipping coins. We've been, there's many different methods for it. Usually you either want to assume that you are only using a household item or stick to your standard set of 7 dice, your standard D20 set. Okay, with that, we are going to go around. I will start with my idea, and I think we'll, me looking at our order here on stream, it'll be me, and then Spencer, and then Michael. You guys, I just realized something. We've done a couple of these streams. That's the Triple Jump logo, right?
Yeah, that's Michael's Discord image.
Okay.
Yes. For Triple Jump.
But that's not the legal property of anyone, is it?
Legal property of us.
Okay, I just had a moment. Those of you at home can't possibly relate to the deep and existential panic that fills our hearts at the thought of accidentally doing copyright infringement.
That's full on mine.
Love it. My one-page idea is Revengeance. You play somebody whose dog, car, something bad has happened, and so you are basically playing like the archetypal like dad character. I can't decide if that means it's a single player game or if that means that there's just a squad. There's just an array of Revengeance dads. I'm thinking of John Wick. I'm thinking of some Jackie Chan flicks. I'm thinking of a couple of properties that are just like, I need Revengeance. That's my idea.
Liam Neeson.
Yeah, everything Liam Neeson has put out in the last 20 years.
I like it.
Spencer, what's your idea?
Mine is, I'm gonna call it Dungeon Crafter. You use dice, you roll them. Depending on how they land, it gives you the layout for a map of a dungeon. Depending on the number it lands on, it gives you an item to fill the dungeon with. And I think you go head to head with your other players here to build the best dungeon. Maybe there's points you can use to buy extra things, etc., etc., etc. That's all the detail I've got.
Okay.
Michael?
I'm still stuck between two.
Pick
Like,
one. Flip a coin.
Can I give you the titles and ask what you guys like more?
Give us the titles, yeah.
Yeah, just titles. First title, Gators and Grenades.
Okay.
Okay.
Second one, Riddles and Rhymes.
Gators and Grenades.
Yeah, Gators
Easy.
and Grenades sounds more like a game.
All right, Gators and Grenades. The point of it is a multiplayer game. All of you but one are Gators. The other one's a crocodile.
For sure.
You have
for
to
sure.
discern who the crocodile is and give that crocodile a grenade.
Okay.
So
Honestly,
sort of in the Mafia Salem spirit
yeah,
of
it's
right
more of a
there.
card game, but yeah, it's a very much a Salem game. That's fun. Okay. What's everybody thinking? This is the worst part of the session because every time we have 3 people, we have to vote. Or are we gonna roll?
I think mine is the least developed by a pretty stark contrast. And I also didn't occur to me that I trapped myself in a corner where I'm talking about a genre that's inherently about one person and not a group of friends sitting around a table. So I think I'm simply out of the running. What we are left with is this delightful game in the spirit of games of Mafia played late at night in theater camps. Or I'm having trouble finding a way to quickly describe your game, Spencer.
You craft dungeons in a
Yeah,
head-to-head game to see
make-
who makes the best one. Like villain.
Yeah, I think I see a version of that I'm very into. I think the base that you've given us to be is going to be a classic case of kind of not a game.
Yeah. Which before we got on stream, I was like, this isn't a game.
Yeah, it happens. It's if you at home want to experience how quickly it happens to you, just try to make literally tomorrow, get some friends together, get some drinks, and try to make a 1-page RPG. And you'll stop 20 minutes in and go, oh shit, it's not a game. What? There's not a game. There's no game here. This is just improv prompts in a row. Shit. So I think it's one of the two of you, without a doubt. If we want to stick really hard to the TTRPG genre, we should go with Spencer's game. It seems a little bit more inclined in that direction. If we wanted to branch out a little further, Michael's game is a little closer to, like we said, the sort of like card, like the kind of thing that you either play with friends because everybody knows the rules, or you go buy a deck of, like coup cards in a fabric bag.
I hate to say this, but I think we can pull yours back into the running because what I think is Zorg style. You can bring everybody around the table to control Quan Wick or whatever you want to call him. So everybody is in control of one main Revengeance character.
Yeah, I was thinking, or we could try to. I was trying to noodle this over without slowing down stream, and I was like, could one of you be like the criminal contact? One of you be like the best friend? It made me think of, there's a character who I forget exists, and I'm gonna throw this out to you. Did anybody else just forget that Willem Dafoe is in John Wick 1?
Really?
He's doing like a whole other thing, right? Is that the movie? There's a movie where Willem Dafoe is just like helping his assassin friend.
I would be gobsmacked if it's John Wick.
I don't think it's John Wick.
I don't know. It just came out, and I was like absolutely blown away by it. I was like, "What is he doing in here?"
For ease of use, I'm gonna say let's do it between me and Michael's, and we can roll. I had a similar issue with my RPG action hero, where I'm like, if other people want to play, they're gonna feel like real, like assholes. When one guy is Rocky and the other ones aren't.
I demand apologies, John Wick. Willem Dafoe as Marcus, a skilled sniper and John's old friend. He dies saving John Wick in that film, and I don't remember in John Wick 1.
What?
It's half of the plot.
Hey chat, I just need you guys to chime in here. John Wick, Willem Dafoe?
Willem Dafoe's central to the plot of the first John Wick. He gets hired to kill him. He betrays the dudes and then dies, and it's sad. And John Wick is like, no, like it's a huge part of the plot. I forgot my man was in it at all.
I feel like this is a real Mandela here because I've seen John Wick like 4 times, and I don't remember Willem Dafoe in it. That's wild. Anyway,
You're
back
welcome.
to the matter at
You're
hand.
welcome.
I'm gonna go watch John Wick after this. That's for fucking sure.
Absolutely wild.
I
Yeah,
think
totally.
Our best bet is to roll a d20 or d6, and on whatever I get it and whatever Michael gets it. Do you want odds or evens, Michael?
I'll do evens.
All right, I'm odds. 1.
Odds.
All right.
Off we go.
All right, now we got to come up with some tables. That's for sure in this game.
I think so. We did that just on schedule. We said it would take off stream. We said it would take like 15 minutes, and it took 15 minutes and 22 seconds. So we've nailed it, which is
Real
fabulous.
professional.
Yeah, we are consummate professionals. So we're gonna hop here into Dungeon Maker 40K. So number one, I think we got to address something up front, which is I love the Dungeon Maker idea, but at the end of that, there's not a game yet, which is kind of a problem. I'm trying to think of ways to like fold this into a game.
I
shape.
think
It would be at the end. Like at the end, do heroes try to break in, and that's how we? And it's like that's the game of it. Do you play the monsters that populate it? In another version, a little complicated. Like, is the goal to play the dungeon? Is the goal to play the dungeon in Dungeons and Dragons then, and like be the party that breaks in, or are we making one dungeon collaboratively, which could be fun and very sweet and is not a game, but that's okay, right? I have kickstarted RPGs that I have received and gone, oh shit, I didn't buy a game. I bought some fun stuff to do with your friends.
So
Yeah.
The first thought I had, there's a video game somewhat like what I'm thinking of, where it'd be like a 3-parter game, where the first part is you're rolling you have to find a way to make different parts of the dungeon. Each room, you roll a die, you roll a 1. All right, this is a trap room. You roll a 3. This is a monster room. Something like that. And you place it all together. Phase 2, and everyone's making their own dungeon. Phase 2, each person rolls to try and wreck the rooms. Like there's a bonus in this room that you could get. There's a shortcut here, something like that. That kind of makes it bad, or makes the dungeon not as good as it used to be. And then third is everyone goes through each person's dungeon, and whoever's is the easiest to go through loses, and whoever goes through, or whoever's kills the most people wins.
There are elements of that I like. It's a board game is the problem, right? You said it's like a video game, and you were correct.
Yes.
It's very much like a video game or board game, which doesn't mean that it's not going to be fun. It's not a good idea. It just means it definitely leans towards the sort of like Mario Party Jackbox game of it all, right?
The alternative that I could proffer is, what is that game that we've played several times that is building a village or a city or whatever on the cusp of the apocalypse?
Yeah, it's A Quiet Year. There's a couple of games sort of in the same venue, for sure. There's A Quiet Year. They have a sequel because they felt that A Quiet Year was colonial, which I think it's kind of hard for anything to be inherently true of a game like that. So I guess they're responding more to the way that the game resolves. And a few others that I own but have never played. We have large collections of these games that exist, but another one that I bought recently was Shields and Sentinels or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have it somewhere. That was a Kickstarter. That is very fun, very sweet. Kind of not a game, but a fun group of improv prompts. So okay, so we're sort of leaning in this. I'm trying to think about what that sort of looks like as a fully developed product for us then. So it would be about like collaborative creation of a space. I like that. I always love those kinds of games. I think once you sort of get past the thought of cringe, the great fear of looking what do you call it, of looking authentic in front of everyone, games like that are always a ton of fun. doing things where you're sort of like working together to make those things. Collaborative style, though, it does. So for it to be a game, for me personally, I tend to like for there to be an ending that we can get to, a win state or a fail state. And then mainly it's just that when things become uncertain, the dice come out is always a mechanic that I enjoy, right? When we start moving towards random rolling on tables, we start to drift towards like generating a game in a sort of a different way. So either as a randomization mechanic in the way that it is in A Quiet Year, or as like a problem solver, I think are both solid. Then towards the end, are we done when the dungeon is completed? Did we want to lean in a direction where we then destroy the dungeon? Did any of those sound interesting, sound exciting?
I'm worried about biting off more than a page can chew, adding in beat the dungeon afterwards mechanic. Otherwise, I'm for it, if we're looking to make a bigger product.
Okay. So let's just sort of program in something that makes it the dungeon at a certain point is finished.
Yeah.
Right? If we can't invade the dungeon, if we can't at the end of it have everything happen, we can sort of end it somewhere. I think something I think would be really, really fun, it's just coming to me now, is we should make the dungeon, and then one of the phases of our game needs to be 200 years pass. Because that's like the classic dungeon thing, right? You're never in a new dungeon. So I think it would be fun to have some mechanic of like, and then X number of years pass, I think is a really fun mechanic.
And now something else is taken over. You're designing with that in mind. You know, the goblin horde has taken over the former mausoleum of the paladin.
Yeah, either as a end game mechanic like a new game plus, or as the thing that moves us ahead, right? It's build the dungeon, 100 years pass. If we wanted to definitely not make a game, a really fun like improv version of this would be person A, what is the dungeon for? Why was it built? What's in it? What's the biggest trap? Like, what's the deadliest trap? They do all that. They hand it to the next person. They roll dice to see how many years pass. Then they go through a era 2 checklist. They make all those choices, pass it. Another amount of time passes. You get to the end of like, 3, 4, 5, 6 people. You have the dungeon. Everybody admires it. And you had fun collaboratively storytelling. Not a game, but yeah, sort of fun. That's what I opened with that. That's a concept that is not a game, but many products aren't. The sort of more gamey version of that, again, would probably involve like a time skip, where we would just be like phasing the game, where it's like everybody works together, we pass time, everybody does it again.
Yeah, which I think we're probably going to lean more towards.
Okay.
With my vote.
So this is collaborative. We're working together.
Yeah.
Our end state is the dungeon is complete. I love that. Now it's time to add a random factor. What does that look like? Is that dice? Is that... I don't know. Is it dice? Is it cards? My brain keeps saying we gotta make them pull up Google Maps. Is that anything? To get a terrain, to get an area.
Step 1, Google Maps. This is the...
It's just, I don't know, there is something fun about step 1, get into Google Maps, zoom out all the way, scroll around in circles, and then click on a random patch of green. Whatever's there, that's your basis. I don't know, maybe that's not... I don't know how interesting that is. The answer is probably going to be get out a sheet of blank printer paper.
I like that. So it's something that I've seen with map maker, or like dungeon, or not dungeon, but D&D map makers, where they throw a bag of dice, and then wherever the outskirts of the dice are, that's the limit of, and that's the border, and then depending on rolls, like high rolls, low rolls, type of dice, is different terrain, mountains. We wouldn't go that in depth, but we could do like a bag of marbles.
And that's where my original idea came from, was seeing stuff like that, where it's like, oh, that's how DMs do it. Let's make that into a game itself.
Yeah, and we would just do something a little less than terrain building.
I do feel like doing it that way will take away some choice. And I think that then it makes it even less game-like. Because my original thought was, yeah, you roll the dice, and then you say, this is a monster room, this is a trap room, this is whatever.
Yeah.
But then it's just generation. There's no game.
I
Okay.
didn't realize that that is what you were describing. So I do think that is a fun sort of basis. And I think we have a pretty good... I have to pull away from the mic to do this. I have to reach in for a handful of dice out of this container.
good.
All right. Instead of rolling like that, how about it be like a bag of 6 different types of marbles, like colored marbles, and you go round and round, pick a marble. If it's green, it's such and such room. It's yellow, it's such and such room.
I think I want to split the difference because I think it's unlikely that anybody's going to have a bag of marbles. And I think that Spencer also has a valid argument here that his thing is mainly generation. It's not really a game. But I do know that just about anybody who buys one-page RPGs is going to have these 7 sons of bitches.
Yep.
So if it's the kind of game where keep in mind, just because the first thing they do is something completely random and generative does not mean the rest of the game will be. So I think we have some really good ideas here I don't want to steer away from. I like the idea that we get out a sheet of printer paper, we get out one complete set of dice, or each player sends a child to school for the dice set, and then you roll them onto a sheet of paper. And that's the first thing you do. You have number results. Mm-hmm. We've got a lot of topography there that I like. So... from here, we like the idea, right, that we are sort of creating this dungeon together. No matter what, that's part of the mechanic. I don't know if that's friendly or foe-ish in its sort of goal. We'll have to see what that is. But we know that they then make it. So I like the idea that we have these 7 dice on this thing now. They're telling us information. Each player's going to have to interact with one of these dice. That's all golden to me. From there, each person has created their thing, and then you see what I mean? This is where
Then it needs to mesh
we
together.
have yet to. We keep like talking like we've answered that question, and then talking about a new mechanic, and we have yet to just answer the question. So I think we just need to pick. At the end of this game is what you have a dungeon, and that's the end of the game, and we are going to focus on turning that into a game. Or, at the end of this, do we want somebody to have won in the way that you win Monopoly? Because then we need to change it. Like, we don't win D&D. You know, everybody just keeps playing until you get to a point where you're like, and it's over. And we can all tell that it's over. That's not a problem. Or, we need to set a thing that you do that makes you win at the end.
Because we're all collaboratively working on one thing, I'm going to say there is no winner.
Okay.
You make a dungeon, and making the dungeon is succeeding. I guess there could be a way everybody loses, but I don't think there's a way that one guy wins.
Okay, so we open the game. It sounds like it's probably GM-less.
Yeah, I don't think that there needs to be one.
Okay, we tend to have GMs in our games. We tend to have...
I've been thinking... I was like, how do I get a GM into this? But I don't think you need to.
Yeah.
No.
So, again, I like the idea that either you choose one among you to roll the 7 dice, you go around in a circle, or everybody sends a kid to school. You roll all the dice onto the sheet. The next thing that I've got a sheet of paper. I have rolled my dice because we're going to do this en media res here. Is the first thing I'm doing like drawing a shape around them, do we think? Are we sticking that hard to the concept? Okay, I'll do it in pencil.
Do we want it to be a shape, or do we want like straight lines around each one?
I think it should be it's setting the bounds of the dungeon. And then you have to populate with the next round.
Okay. So, depending on how skeleton-ish I draw this, I either have kind of a hallway shape, or I have sort of a large island kind of deal. So I either have like sort of a roughly kidney bean shaped island, or I have like an E where the middle bump is just a little dash. So it's like, oh, an M, Ethan? So I either have a kidney bean or I have the letter M. God, that was so embarrassing. I looked back down at it and was like, what the fuck?
M.
An E with a short bump? Go to jail. So those are both really valid options. So now what am I doing?
All right.
I'm picking up
Step
one of these
one-
dice, yeah?
Yes. Now I think it comes down to the differences in the individual dice. Is a D6 a monster die? So whoever grabs that one and they roll it, they get to add a monster somewhere into the dungeon. Is a D20 terrain, trap, whatever. Then we get into table generation. So people get to grab the die they want, knowing that this is going to create a monster somewhere in here.
Yeah, I think so. I the way I see it, it's either a sliding scale where a D4 is where like a D4 reflects purpose and a D20 reflects defense, and we sort. Do you see what I mean? Like a D4 is like this is what the dungeon's for, and a D20 is this is how we are defending the dungeon, and it's sort of a sliding scale, or we could sort of assign 7 rolls to these dice that we're working with, which is our 4, our 6, 8, 10 percentile, 12, and 20. So first instincts I'm getting, percentile is how many years this dungeon has existed, or how many
That's
years
fine.
ago it was built.
Yeah,
we could even
the
do
original build.
for D&D. We would probably do percentile times 10 because that would give you a minimum of 10 years ago and a maximum of 1,000.
Yeah.
Fitting.
That's good.
Fitting for a crypt.
Well, yeah, because you're rolling the percentile die, so 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 double O's. That means it's either been 10 years, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 10, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900. With all zeros meaning it's been 10 years. It's a brand new dungeon. They just built... The motherfucker's still in here.
There's not dust yet.
Yeah, you kick it up to 100 and you're like, well, maybe he's still alive. You get to 200, you're like, he's probably not alive. Unless it's an elf. You get to a 900 and you're like, this is empty. This is abandoned as shit. So, 100 times 10 equals years. I think I'm all good with that. That doesn't really leave space for a person to narrate that, but I think, I don't know, D100 just seemed like sort of an odd one to me, so I thought maybe we should just get it out of the way.
It's got to be something like that, because we're not going to come up with 100 random monsters to include in your thing.
No.
And I like the idea that even if somebody wanted to take this, we could be like, and what has happened in those years? You know what I mean? And talk to us at what has happened to this dungeon in that time.
Here's a follow-up thought for the dice. Say D6 is monster.
Yeah.
If you roll the D6 and you roll a 1, it's like an imp or a goblin. If you roll a 6, you get to put in a red dragon or whatever. It's a sliding scale. You have to kind of work within the parameters of what you understand good and bad monsters are in a dungeon. But that adds some diversification, and we don't need to build a table around it. It's, you rolled a 6, you get to throw in whatever monster you want. You rolled a 2, sorry, you've got a merfolk defender. That's how you get.
I like that for the D4 and the D6. I think once we get up to D8, we got too many numbers for people to be able to do a sliding scale in their heads. I know what the difference.
4 and a 5.
Yeah, 2 and a 4, 3 and a 5, 1 and a 4. Those I get. That makes sense to me, especially with 6 is the other end of the spectrum. 1 and a 5 and a 7. We're starting to get a little hard to parse.
A little rough.
Okay.
A question.
Go ahead.
Point of the is there a going through this dungeon at the very end or no?
I don't think so.
No. Okay. Fair enough.
Too much of a time sink, I think. We'll see. Who knows? We could finish this up.
Only reason I was asking was if we were to go through it, I think it would be cool to have like the D4 be the boss's room and we have a select these are the 4 bosses. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we have a card for them.
I did cut out just now. Sorry about that.
You're
That's
good.
okay.
I noticed, and we just pushed on. It was great. You picked a good time to cut out. I think that I like the core concept. I think I think I want our D4 to be a magic item because common, uncommon, rare,
Ooh.
legendary
Yeah.
is
Okay.
nice and neat. So I like that. I was just sitting here penciling that out. That's what I was like, that it's always
Yeah.
4 or 5 because sometimes there's like artifact, like there is in D&D now. There's artifact now. It's common, uncommon, rare, very rare, legendary, artifact. You kids. All right. So we got a D8, we got a D10, we got a D12, and we got a D20. If we're trying to theme this game in the direction of Dungeons and Dragons, then the D20 will tell us what level of dungeon we're building. If we don't want to theme in that direction, then we need something with 20 variables, which is pretty beastly.
20 variables is rough.
20 variables is very rough. It makes me want to... That was the cat, I think. It makes me want to sort of find something for that to reference. Because otherwise those 20 are going to be kind of hard. Like... I don't know. For D20, Google local popular places wherever you are and go to the 20th result on Google and click it.
The D20 could be your round counter. You roll the D20, you get a 7. You get 7 rounds of everybody picking up one of the die, rolling and saying, this is what I'm populating with, this is what I'm populating with.
20 rounds is a lot of that.
20 rounds is a lot. And 1 is not enough.
I would just rather sort of tackle this now before we, because compared to this, right, D12 is going to be a cakewalk. I just found out the origins of that term. Actually, we got to cut that one. For those of you at home, maybe don't even Google it. Just keep that one to yourself.
I don't even know what phrase you said.
Cakewalk.
Stick to a very easy promenade. Yeah. So,
quick question: how many status effects would you say there are?
Like
main status effects.
A lot.
How many did you say? 10? You think? Or if you lump?
You're good. I think if we go in the D&D direction, I think the 1 to 20 has to be level.
Yeah.
And then status effect could certainly sit on the 1d12 or the 1d10, right? It could be how much of a swing, do we want this thing to have? We could sort of, theme the dungeon in some sort of way with that. And that would be relatively successful. The real question is just, is that something we want to do? Because so far we're not really in that method. We have this sort of shitty to solid monster with the D6. We have this, common, uncommon, rare, legendary for the magic item. We have time set. So it seems like we're mostly focused on location. Other places I could see D20. D20 could be inhabitants. How many, right? It's a good high number for how many things are here, or how many, X's are Y. How many beings are in the dungeon? Could be 20, and one of the people's job could be to populate the dungeon. Or it could be, I don't know, how many times has it been attacked? It could be how many rooms are there? It could be the D20, right? Those high numbers could sort of get relegated to that. Again, 20 rooms is a long game, pretty much no matter what.
I do also like the idea of there being something working against the dungeon creators, fate, nature, etc. Not via a GM, but similar to the cards, where it's like, oh, this thing is happening nearby. You draw this card at the end of you populating one of the rooms, and one of the other rooms is flooded. Oh no. It doesn't have to be cards. I'm just trying to think of something for the players to have to navigate.
Yeah. The D20 is sort of classically the chance dice. So there's certainly a world where we set 6 dice, you roll everything except the D20, and then the D20 becomes your problem dice. And that would be very easy. Our game could have, the thing we could come up with could be 20 complications.
That's definitely a good idea, yeah.
As we go from dice to dice, and each person takes on a new area each time the D20 gets rolled, and sort of helps construct the overall shape. It would be, a 1-round game You go around the horn once, and everybody does it. As each round is completed, each person having added one thing with some prompting from the dice. You either end the game there or fast forward 300 years and go around the horn again. I think those are both solid. So the 20 goes off to the side, and we will come up with 20 complications. I think that's pretty cool. I like that our two biggest and hardest to work with dice, the D100 and the D20, are both off table, right? The
Accounted
D100
for,
yeah, it just happens at the beginning. The D20 happens throughout. I think that's great. It gives us 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. A lot more workable. So if D4 is a magic item, but not necessarily what this place is holding, a D6 is a creatures on a sliding scale. We've got the 8, the 10, and the 12. 12 will present the next biggest challenge. As you know, the more variables, the more sort of complex of a thing it is. 12 months, 12 inches in a foot. Like, I'm going in a couple of sort of random ones here. 12 hours in a day. I know it's weird that I'm saying these things to try to like push us in a direction.
Sure,
Because we want something that people can associate quickly with the number 12. Yeah, time of day, I don't know, makes my brain want to go in like a monster of the week direction, where it's like 3 hours to midnight, 2 hours to midnight kind of deal. As I'm looking at the games behind me and thinking about the number 12.
I was thinking, I was like traps, but then it's still just you saying like, I want a spike trap because I rolled a 3. And that's the same as the monsters on that sliding scale. It doesn't work as well.
No, it's a little bit too high of a variable. This is, they say it's fun to come up with these games, and then you're spending 40 minutes. So just trying to think about. I'm really hung up on the like.
How about
to midnight?
It doesn't really interact with the number 12, but it's spells that can be blasted off.
Again, it's what I'm trying to avoid is getting in a direction where we end up creating a bunch of generative tables. 12 spells get blasted off. That doesn't actually give us any new information about what the person has to do. It's just a number of times that something occurs, which is what leaves me with this like.
What's maybe a better way of thinking about it would be like, what isn't currently accounted for in dungeon generation? We have the overlaying space, so we have the bounds of the game. We have monsters, we have magic items. We have time. We don't have any sort of factions.
Yeah,
like
traps.
What was there
people.
before? We don't have traps. Yeah.
We don't have what's here. We don't have what is kept here.
Yeah, true. How could we make... I think that would be an interesting one to do, is what is the point of the dungeon originally? Before it was a dungeon, it was something else. What was the point of it? D12 would probably answer
what
that
was
question.
it before?
But then we have a big table, yeah.
I was thinking D12, or because we're trying to seed the idea, that could snatch up our D8, and it could be chaotic good, lawful good.
That's interesting.
Neutral, chaotic neutral, and we would just cut true neutral. We would say no dungeon is made without purpose. Cross out true neutral.
Okay,
that's
I like that.
That's that writing Morkborg that just bubbled up out of me.
In there.
No dungeon is built without purpose. True neutral cannot be applied, and then they have to look in one of these other directions. So that's 8 options. That gives us sort of alignment. It's another easy seed for an idea. I can't. Every time I look at 12, my brain goes months. And I'm like, I don't think that's it. And my brain goes months.
I'm thinking like terrain, because we have the layout of the rooms, but we don't have what the rooms actually look or feel like. But then I don't want to make a table of 12 things saying water,
beat below sea
bridge,
level.
big hole. Like, I don't want to do all that.
How about it has to be in a trap? I don't know if you've already done a trap room, but you could apply it to a trap room, and it's like that's the depth of whatever. Like it's a 12-inch lava pit. It's an 8-inch water trap.
I wish if it wasn't collaborative, it would be very fun to have the D12 be the degree of complexity of the trap. Being 12 is funny. Like there's something very funny. It's high. It's a high enough number that it kind of goes back around for me. D6 is practical. D8, D10 kind of boring. Fucking rating it on a scale of 1 to 12 for complicatedness has a pretty fun double twist to it.
I will say, we do need traps in the dungeon.
We do.
And we're on the last die here.
No, we have 12 and 10.
We got 10.
Oh, 12 and 10. I wasn't thinking about 10. Fuck.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, 10 traps. It's a scale of complexity. 1 to 10. 1, you have a piece of string tied across and is going to trip somebody. 10, a sigil door that, if not knocked upon thrice, casts lightning bolt or whatever. That way you can populate it with whatever you want. We're still at fucking 12.
It could be fun though for D10. I'm thinking about the D10 thing. It could be this is how many steps it takes to get past the trap on a scale of 1 to 10, right? If we want to solidify it. It could be something like, literally, this is how many things you have to do for the trap to not go off. It's like
That's
9.
fine.
9 is like, you have to press the key while you twist it, and the other guy's got to twist it at the same time on a third person. Chance, the tome of light while he points at the ceiling.
That's perfect.
Or just complicatedness, or, there's a million things we could do there. We will ponder as we keep working through our time here. D12. Little D12 zoning. I'm trying to... So what we could do then... So D4 gives us this item. That means it leaves us with one sad little creature die in D6. One little trap die in D10. And then this blank D12. And it's just... It's got me, I don't know. It's got me thinking that these 3 need a little more. I don't know. Like, we can't have one monster and one trap. It's a dungeon, right? We want a little bit more opportunity or less. I don't want us to be like there's one dungeon, one monster. Sorry, one monster, one trap, one other thing. Is there anything to, like, if it's an odd, it is friendly. If it is an even, it is unfriendly?
I'm still on the idea of it'd be cool for the 12 to be like of the buddy die. If that's the die you want, you roll it and it's amplifies the effect of one thing that was placed down.
I'm just not sure what you mean by amplify.
Like you get to roll it on whatever the monster die was, and you get 5. All right, there's 5 of those now of that whatever creature was, or
you add a 5, and now instead of being a 2 that they rolled, it's a 7 for the craziness of the monsters to get an ancient dragon.
Yeah, that or the trap room, basically the trap room. There's now multiple of those traps in that room. Something.
I do like that idea. I'm not going to discount that. I think that could probably work as a boost. What if when a die is rolled, and if it lands on a 1, the die is retired until the next round, until whatever. So you roll a d4, you got a 25% chance it's going to land on the 1. You get 1 item. It's an uncommon in this dungeon, and then you have to remove the die. You roll the d20, yada, 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 on and on and on and on. Do you want to go until all of them are expended, or until, some shit like that? Just a thought.
I thought I had more time. It's a great idea. It turns this into a massive project.
Yeah.
It really mousetraps us a little bit. I'm not against it. I'm just saying that's what it does.
I mean, it would mousetrap the players, I think, because then they would just have to keep building and building and building until they roll a natural 1. Unless there's a secondary end. That could just be the primary way the game ends is you roll that 1 on all of the dice until they're all spent. And also, this other event can occur that'll end the game.
It's just statistically, it would take so long.
So fucking long. So long.
Again, if we want to make what's the name of like the longest board game? The Campaign for Africa. Like that's like 12-hour. So it's like 12-week game.
Also, I want to say this before I forget. An idea that I like is the thing that the players are working against is primarily two things. One, nature. Two, adventurers who heard that there's a dungeon and came and fucked up their trap. So you draw this card or you roll this die. One of your traps has been discombobulated and now it's not functioning anymore. So you got to roll to replace it on the next round. Whatever. That's a fun way to work through it.
So, okay. I think I have an idea then. Seems like we want more rooms. We want to push in that direction. We want people to create these things. We don't necessarily like the idea on only having so many of each thing. That's fine. So we've got D4 as monster, D6 as creature, D8 as like alignment, and D10 as traps. If we can change D8, then I think we could do roll D12. That's how many items. Roll D12, that's how many monsters. Roll D12, that's how many creatures. Roll D12, that's how many traps. And then building the dungeon based on that, that's how many times you roll the die. You know what I mean? D12 is a little high. I might kind of want to flip it. We might go D6. Yeah, I think that's probably a good idea. I think in that case, then, D4 would become this dice that you determines how many. D6 becomes magic item. D8 becomes monster. Or D6 stays monster because we like the low number. There's so much going on. D6 is the monster because we like that number low. D8 becomes either traps or this other thing that's not alignment. I think we'll just cut alignment. And so then 12 either... So 12 would need to be changed then. So D6 stays monster, D8 becomes magic item, D10 stays traps, D12 needs to become some other thing. So we've returned to having the 12 on the table. Unless we want 12 to be traps or some such.
Just when I thought I was out, 12 drags me back in again.
So let's very important step in our creative process. For those of you who know, the goal of the show is to demystify GMing. So if you're starting to get into a cage of like, where are they going with this? Well, this show is more about us, again, just sort of trying to show what this process can look like and how sometimes you can be like, what the fuck do we do with the D12? Anybody who's ever run a campaign where you didn't prep like the whole thing, you didn't think about the larger plot at all, has done this, has been like, and I made 2 weeks ago, I made it true that the Devil Knight had a secret master, and I don't know who it is. What do I do? It has to be somebody who's been there the whole time. It's the last arc. You know, you'll get yourself in these corners. So, in review, I have a handful of dice. I have a set of 7 polyhedrals. I take out the D20. I set it to the side. Looking down at my, I take my percentile die. I roll it. This dungeon is 500 years old.
Perfect.
Great. I have 5 dice left in my hand. I roll those, right? Do I roll those? So I guess not then. So I guess then I go, okay, time to go down this list. How many magic items? 3. How many monsters? 2. How many traps? 4. So if we've got magic items, we've got monsters, and we've got traps, what are we missing? Are we missing buddies? Are we missing practical rooms? Are we missing... Right, there's something fun about the thought that, like, rooms that are for a purpose and not to be deadly. People, like, workers, not monsters, like people who maintain the dungeon.
I would say
It could be another, interesting feature. It could just be feature.
D12 could be it could be an expansion die.
So like a
So
point of interest.
Yeah, it's a point of interest. It's a room that serves a purpose, and you can set that one essentially anywhere. Yeah, I would say even you could probably expand the map out for points of interest. You can add another section. This is the mausoleum. Zoop.
So
Add that to the north
got
corner.
that. So I know that we have 3 magic items, 2 monsters, 4 traps, and 4 interesting locations. So I've hit my first roadblock. I don't know what to do next. I haven't rolled these dice onto the sheet of paper because there will be multiples. I haven't done that yet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at a sheet of paper and I have these numbers generated, this 3, 2, 4, 4, and I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do right now. Am I... do we just go around the table and the first person takes not the D4, takes the D6 and rolls it onto the sheet of paper, draws a circle around it, and then starts describing? Because they have the number and the location, and then the next person rolls the D6 again. I'll do that again. Same number. I got a 1 that time. Okay, so that's my D6s, so I can do that. So that leaves me with these 3 areas. Each person would have described one. We move on to magic items. Roll a magic item. I got that location. Rolled another one at barely touching the side of it. Rolled another one. It's right there. That's 1 too. Oh, it's 1 too many. This is maybe not. I know this isn't
Not
the best
great
radio.
but
I really thought. I'm gonna be honest. I thought I could. I just assumed that you two would talk about something while I did this.
How about that weather?
Not even that. There's
Scorcher,
other
yeah.
mechanics we haven't figured out yet. I still don't know what a lot of this is.
I mean, here's my big thing that I'm still considering. I'm still pondering on. How are we going to implement obstacles? Are we doing card? We've already used the shit out of dice. I'll tell you that much right now.
My plan was what we had said.
Oh, D20
was we make 20 simple complications.
Yeah.
20 non-specific complications.
And then the follow-up question is, are they building to circumvent those issues? Like if you roll a 20, is it an attempt is made on the magic item in the building? If it doesn't have a trap around it, you lose the magic item. And then it begs the question, why do they give a shit about the magic item? The answer can be because the game says they give a shit about the magic item.
I think that's fair.
Yeah. That's my only thought. So D20 is a random table of stuff that happens.
Yeah.
Complications. And are they working to avoid it, or do they just have to go, shit, and then deal with it on the next round?
No, I think it sounds to me like it's what you make your room and then we roll a complication and you then have to adapt to it was my first instinct, but we could certainly roll it at the beginning. It could be, and then this is a problem that will come up. That's both ways work. I actually think the first way is a little stronger, but again, it's basically just creating a dungeon. But we've already said that's the end of this game. The end of this game is good job. You made a dungeon. Yeah, hang it up on the wall, put it on the fridge. So I just did that, rolled all those dice. Took a while, and often a dice would roll where another one went. So that's 2 sort of small notes that I have. Things that people are, I assume, smart enough to sort of work their way over.
Combo room, baby.
Yeah, a combo room is a great idea, actually, right? It's both of those things at once. So my question then is, are we rolling all of those dice and drawing circles and writing numbers inside and making a map that way and then describing each room? Or do we roll a room, come up with the room, roll another room, come up with the room, roll another room, come up with the room? on and
I
on.
think roll a room, come up with the room,
Okay.
onto the next person. They roll a room, come up with the room, onto the next person.
Okay, so I like that. So I rolled one of my d6s. The first one that landed way over here. I see that a d6 is a monster. I got a 4, with a 1 being completely useless, a 6 being viciously deadly, right? Our 1, 2, 3, 4 means it's a little more dangerous than normal, as opposed to a little less. My brain quickly goes in a dungeon a little more dangerous than normal. It's either a lot of something, so it's like skeletons that are really well organized, like with tactics, or a little bit more dangerous than normal. This is like a cultist. This is something with magic, right? This is the first time that we have like 2 monsters working together. To me, is like, congratulations, welcome to tactics. You know, we're at CR4. So I'm going to say it's a sort of a godskin duo fight, but not, you know, Blade of Mikola. You know, we're not all the way up at the top. I'm not going to finish this. Fuck this game. I hate my life. Okay, so that's pretty easy. I didn't have an issue there. And I see how this would turn into me designing the rest of this. I roll the next d6. It lands over here. We keep going. I roll one of these d8s, which we currently have, which I think needs to become magic item. Okay. So I see one of these, and I got a... Do I have anyone that's not a 4 again? No, I didn't. So I've got another 4. I got a 4 on a d8. It's a magic item. How does this 4 out of 8 reflect on this item?
A 4 out of 8 is that's like a +2.
Yeah, I my question is, can we do something more exciting with 1 to 8 than 1 to 8 stars? Is there something a little bit more interesting that we can sort of lift up out of that? Because
how many extra effects it has? If you get an item that has an 8, it has that many abilities.
That's just a lot of abilities.
I know. That's why you hope rates.
I don't know. That'd be rough. I mean, there is still the alignment. What is the thing that made this magic item? Is it good, like lawful good, etc.?
Okay, so I'm in. So D8 remains alignment. It just becomes the alignment of item. I look over at the next die that got rolled. It's a 7 out of 10, and that 1 to 10 has something to do with traps. So it is a 7 on the complicated scale.
Yeah, the complexity.
Is what we said before. So to me, like a level 7 trap is a, like, Indiana Jones, the walls start to come in, and you have to, like, find the lever to set it off, right? If I'm trying to think, 1 to 10, is it that vague? Is it as vague as... It's complexity on a scale of 1 to 10. Again, 10 is high enough that it goes back to being easy, which is fine. Or is it number of steps until the trap is solved? Is it...
I'm slow to say yes to that because I think it's hilarious. But the amount of improv work it takes to be like, these are the 10 steps.
That's my problem. I would love to get that. And I don't think I know very few other people who would be just so jazzed to be like, it's a 9-step trap. All right, first you have to hop across the tiles only touching the red ones. Then you have to climb up on the wall, touching only the black rocks. Like, there's certainly something entertaining there.
Yeah, I think that for us, we'll homebrew it that way. But I think for everybody else, it's got to be complexity of trap.
Yeah, so on a 7 out of 10 complexity, like I said, it's the Star Wars trash compactor. It's, you have to find a clever solution out and none is obvious, is 7. 10 is you're probably going to die. 5 is there's an obvious solution. 2 is this trap is for babies. You know what I mean? There's I think a pretty
2 is they threw a bunch of caltrops on the ground.
Yeah. 1 is Kevin McAllister. 10 is a Sararak. Find your spot there. Okay, so that all looks good to me. And so then we just keep going around until all those prompts have been filled. And then we have a sheet of paper with a drawn reflection of what that looks like. Now is when I would say, now we are sort of left at the end of something that can feel a little anticlimactic. But again, it is like a quiet year. It is like many other games. It just sort of drifts. I think this is where if would publish this game with an addendum that is like, if you would like to continue the story, begin again, 100 years pass, everybody go around and change one of the rooms, and you could just like dot through. Or you could get to the end and you could say, if you all enjoy your creation, elect a GM and start play and run the dungeon. Could be kind of fun, but it would be fun as a last sentence in the bottom right corner of a single page RPG.
Yeah,
It's like, if you're not done yet, run it. It'll be fun. Yeah, exactly. Okay. If that's
a game.
If that's it, then it is 7:40. It's a little early. Then we have then I have terrible news. We have 42 minutes left in our stream. And 41 minutes left now. And I guess we got to just come up with some other shit.
I guess let's go play some Baldur's Gate. And yeah, I mean, was it a game?
No, this is
arguably maybe.
I don't hate that it's not a game. It's not a game. Much in the way that A Quiet Year is a tabletop role-playing experience, not a tabletop role-playing game.
There's no stakes. There's no way to lose. It's not a game.
Yeah, it doesn't make it bad, but it does make it not a game. Like, right? It's just inherently different. If you went, I'm trying to think of a good example. Much in the way that if you went to go see a normal movie and they were like, make a choice. Hey, do you want him to go left or right? You'd be like, what? Like,
me?
I didn't come here for this. Yeah, exactly. So with this time left, I mean, we could run it quick. I guess we could do a live playtest. This was supposed to take 3 episodes.
Yeah, let's...
I guess our format is 1, 3, or 6.
I guess so. Let's do a playtest. Sure. Let's see how it goes. Can we?
I don't. That's a good question.
It's physical. It's a pretty physical game.
It's physical. Okay. Oh no. This is I'm woefully unprepared for this reality. Hear me out.
I'll tell you what.
Stage 2 of the game, Revengeance. You make a John Wick-esque character that needs to get through the dungeon the other way.
On the other side of the dungeon is the guy who killed his dog.
We sell this in a box set with Action Hero for powered by the apocalypse. You make the dungeon and then you make the Action Hero.
Action Hero Fantasy is definitely the expansion I'm working on next. He just gets teleported back in time. Nothing changes.
Oh yeah, it's what's the Evil Dead 2? It's the Army of Darkness sort of model. Everybody loves it. Okay.
All right. I was gonna say we can't do it physical. We are woefully unprepared, and physically drawing the maps and playing it out won't work in our completely digital medium with the tools we have right now. I propose we do a couple bits. We shake hands. And we come back next week with something new.
Absolutely.
All
right, step 1, I got to pull up my bit list. 100 pop culture
For those of you just tuning in now, we don't ever really know how long these projects are going to take. And so Bits was the result of that. Spencer's ingenious solution to us not knowing. We have a couple of, I would say fan favorites. There are favorites. One is trying to take a pop culture character and put them into Dungeons and Dragons. One time I think we did take a monster and take a monster and stat it out. Like I think we did like a CR thing there. Yeah. We had one where we draw a monster, a location, and an item, and you have to sort of figure out what's going on. And I vamped long enough. Spencer, let's give this one a whirl-ski.
All right, welcome to Pop Culture Character Creator, starring all of us, your favorite hosts. Ethan or Michael, roll me a D100.
I suppose I can.
Let her rip.
D100.
What do we got?
We got... Sorry, getting the die out. There we go. 99.
No, what?
99.
Oh no.
Oh, this one's right, gang. Let me hit you with Optimus Prime.
Optimus Prime?
All right. I'm gonna take first jab here. First of all, Warforged.
Yeah, Warforged is kind of a given.
Real.
Warforged is a given.
Optimus Prime Warforged. That's step 1. Step 2, he's a fucking paladin. That's for sure. Whether he's Oath of Vengeance or like Oath of the Crown, dating back to the former government of
Yeah.
the Autobots, I'm torn.
Watch.
I'm torn.
Everybody just watched Spencer fumble for the word Megatron.
Megatron, damn.
Wait, no, he's our. Yeah, right.
No, he's a bad.
Mega.
He's a bad guy.
It's the same.
I'm gonna look it up.
Energon. So it's Energon is the power.
Energon.
Autobots.
I don't think it's Energon.
Autobots, Decepticons. Gosh.
So what name? or
What's
what
the
were
name
you
of the
trying to
Are
planet?
Transformers.
Oh.
from
Oh.
Cybertron.
Cybertron. Megatron was close.
Megatron was
Cybertron.
close. Yeah, Cybertron.
Optimus Prime. So I'm going to give, because the goal of this game, by the way, is not for us. So we are all each supposed to give a pitch, I guess. So Spencer, you're
Yes.
saying Paladin Oath Warforged. I'm also going Warforged. I'm saying it's a Battlesmith Artificer. Because he can like shing, shing,
Ooh.
conjure his blades
Yeah.
and turn into a truck.
Hell yeah. Michael.
All right. I also had to go with Warforged because it just makes sense.
Yeah, what else?
I'm thinking Champion Fighter.
Oh, just right up the middle. Pretty good.
I mean, he is truly the champion of the Autobots. So I think that does
He's a
fit.
druid with one wild shape, and it's truck.
It's a truck.
Warforged
yes.
druid, one wild shape. That wild shape is truck.
Yeah, we didn't even delve into his transformations as Autobots do.
Truck. Yeah, exactly. That's
we
where I
were
was thinking Battlesmith Artificer. I was like, kind of.
I see it.
Right, we could get
I
there.
see it.
Yeah,
They-
subclass druid just to turn truck.
But a paladin can. But paladin also works for that because spectral steed, right?
Oh yeah,
He's just his own steed.
He just is
yeah.
the steed is truck. The steed is. I'm gonna get a T-shirt that
Steed
just
is
says
truck.
the steed is truck, and I'm just not. I'm gonna let people figure that one out. That's our first piece of merch for just the three of us. Is the steed is truck.
So that was bit number 1, pop culture character creator, where we generate a pop culture character into D&D. Success. I gotta say that was
An
successful.
unmitigated success. Perfect.
Easily one of our best pop culture character creations. He fit right in D&D.
A lot of good options too.
Yeah. All right. Number 2, our other favorite bit. They say, you say, I say. Everybody get out your D20.
I gotcha. I gotcha. I'm rolling my basic set here today. Whop, whop. Got a 4. Looks like it might be me today, boys.
8.
10.
Tis.
All low rolls.
All right, so
All right.
I'm gonna be our guinea pig at the end.
So here's how the game worked for the uninitiated.
I skipped
Ethan
those.
rolled lowest, so he's the low man on the totem pole. He has to, given me and Michael's who and where, he has to create a adventure hook. Essentially a short plot line. There he goes. He's ready to go.
That does not work. I've never tried to do that before. That does not function in any way. That sucked. That hurt.
So if Michael said the Sword Coast, lame, and I said T-Rex, Ethan would have to make up a plot hook where T-Rex is in the Sword Coast and the adventures have to deal with it.
I would just do Jurassic Park 2, but on the Sword Coast. It would just be a really good time. Somebody tried to bring dinosaurs back to make a big dinosaur zoo in a city. It's right there. I'm
No,
warmed up.
From Chol.
I'm ready.
From Chol.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
get
you guys have got a 2-for-1 special because we just did that one and it didn't count as a blank fire.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with place.
Okay.
So Michael, you've got monster.
Loosen up.
Monster. Okay.
I'm gonna be like one
and-
of Stanislavski's cats, just loose.
I'm going to say it is a Titanic bank.
Titanic
That holds a bank
Bank. Okay.
that holds all of the wealth of several magistrates in this area.
Perfect sign that we haven't done this in a while. Spencer and Michael are supposed to say their stuff at the same time so they don't
Oh,
base it on each
yeah.
other. But that's okay.
Yeah.
Michael, you know what this is? This is like when jugs are like, strike that from the record. You will ignore that. Like, it's like, do your best.
Yes. I just needed a second to think was all.
I know, we just vamped. Come on.
No. Well, I didn't know I was doing monster yet.
I did that in class today. I was talking. One
ya?
of my students was trying to come up with an exercise they have to like come up with their own prompt for in class, and they couldn't think of anything. And so I was like, well, we were doing vocab earlier. I'm going to tell everybody about vamping. And then I explained what vamping was, and I turned back to him and I went, all right, it's your go. And he was like, what? And I was like, I give you time. And he was like, I was listening. And I was like, why would you listen to me? I'm teaching you acting. Why are you listening?
All right. We have. Oh, I just had it. Where is it?
Oh, come on.
A bandit.
Yeah. No. We have kobolds.
Oh gosh.
Ooh. Ethan loves kobolds.
They are my favorite Dungeons and Dragons monster by a huge margin. I'm a huge kobolds fan. Okay. It's a giant bank of kobolds. There's such an obvious right up the middle one that I don't even know if I want to do it. Yeah, so the one that came to mind first that I'm not going to do is a series of kobolds have tunneled into a huge bank and are now trying to rob it, which is just a good time. But I think there's something a little bit more fun there. You have been hired by the bank.
By the kobolds.
You've been hired by the bank to try to find out who has been breaking in. It is a long and difficult thing. You're having a lot of trouble finding who it is until you discover that it is 3 kobolds in a trench coat casting disguise self to be one full human man and just keep going in and being like, I must see my safety deposit box. And then taking a bunch of stuff. You try to go in and stop them, only to discover that they have dug a maze of Warren tunnels in between the rooms of this impossibly large, unbelievable bank, as Spencer has described it. And so it becomes a pretty yakety-sax adventure of trying to hunt down all these goblins that could all be anywhere inside this bank and get all of that stuff back. That's my pitch. I got 3 goblins in a trench coat and the tunneling in there. I feel like this was a huge success.
That's a win. And at 8 o'clock, timed out well for our 2 bits to end. With that, thank you everybody for tuning in on the return of DM Writer's Room after our medium-sized sabbatical, as previously established. We burned through the one-page RPG, so I don't know what we're going to be doing next week. Tune in next week, same time, same place. You can follow us on TikTok, on Twitch, on YouTube. You can follow our blog, ttrpi.com. Follow us, subscribe, like our stuff, share with your friends. That's it for me. Thanks for tuning in. We also have a stream on... We changed the date for Theros.
Lately, we've been playing on Tuesdays in theory, but since we have changed it to Tuesdays, we have yet to do a successful stream. So, to be perfectly honest, I think we're still sort of figuring that one out.
We'll figure it out tentatively. Tuesdays, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard.
A cheeky Tuesday, 7:30.
Yeah. And in the meantime, you can go get caught up on all of our other dozens of episodes of Theros on our YouTube channel. We have a backlog of them. So thank you, and